down to it, Doom, who are we going to see and what they're playing?
We, on the left-hand side of your screen, maybe a fan favorite from home, Dominic Harvey, a name you may or may not recognize, playing 4-color Legends. And on the right-hand side of your screen, we have Richie Sleds on Azorius control. This deck list that Dom is playing, this 4-color Legends deck, there's a lot going on here. This is really a deck that's built around Slogurk, the Overslime, which is a card that allows you to rebuy lands, can protect itself, and more importantly, can kind of start looping these channel lands: Otawara, Takenuma, Sokenzan, Boseiju, and really interested to see how this matchup plays out.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I have a lot of cards here we haven't seen yet today in this standard showdown. Dom, I'm going to keep saying it. He is a fellow countryman, however much he wants to call himself Canadian these days. He's an Englishman. Me and him used to battle out quite a lot against each other back in the day. I was also there when he made his Pro Tour top 8 in Barcelona. I was fortunate enough, or accidentally enough, to tell him that he actually got into the top 8 because he thought he came 9th place. So yeah, big shout out to Dom here. And we just see a lot of land go from both these players. Is this how the first turns are meant to go? Because looking at Dom's deck, he's got quite a lot of we got a couple of good 2-drops in this list.
Well, in the main deck, Dom is choosing to play a bit more removal than you traditionally see in these Legends decks. There's 3 cut down, 2 long goodbye, and a go for the throat. So trimming on some of the maybe other 2-drops to make room for that, which means there's less 2-mana plays. Now, still has 4 Rona, 4 Inti, and we see a Relic of Legends on turn 3 here for Dom, and that's a fairly important one to resolve, because what ends up happening, specifically when you have access to Rona, right? So if you have Rona, then what you can do is you can just tap the Rona for mana with Relic, play a Legend, untap it, so on and so forth. And is that a Field of Ruin and a Field to Find here from Dom?
No, that's Stone Rain. That is a full-on. That is, I'm going to tap my 3 mana, you're going to lose a land, I'm going to gain myself a land. No basics in the list. I wonder if that's some either meta knowledge, knowing that there's not many, that these decks don't play many, or just straight up their friends and they know that there's no land on the other side.
Yeah, 30 lands in Dom's deck, not enough room for 1 basic. So, I mean, to be fair, Dom is playing 4 Otawara, 4 Takenuma, 2 Sokenzan, and 2 Boseiju. So 12 channel lands, which is kind of a lot. As we see a Takenuma get channeled. I saw something get picked up. I didn't quite get a good look of what it was. And we'll have to see what Dom has as a follow-up here. He wants to try to get the engine going. As we talked about, this deck is trying to utilize Slogurk in tandem with Titania and Rona to kind of, there's like this weird engine where you can Rona, loot away a land, get a counter on Slogurk, get 3 counters on Slogurk, use its own ability, pick itself up, get back the lands, and just kind of create this near, not actual infinite, but close enough to infinite value loop where you're just generating all of this, like tons of extra cards.
Yeah, normally it's really bad when your opponent starts like stone winning, you're dealing with getting rid of your lands. But Dom's deck is kind of tailored. This is half of his game plan is putting lands into the graveyard and getting them back out again. Not exactly how he want to do it, but it's not the dual endo here. As Richie end of turn brings down the Wandering Emperor, makes a 2/2 Samurai, and starts getting the beats in. As Dom's gonna, was that a cycle? Oh no, I was say he actually made the 2/1s. I was like, were they blocking? Like, what's going on here? A little bit of shortcutting from the players, but that's fine. We'll, me and Doom are here. We can keep up with this. Here we go. Here's the Overslime.
Yep, here's the Overslime. So, now that the Overslime is maybe in play, unless Richie has a counterspell to say about that, every single time Dom, channels a land or cycles a land, we can get some value out of that, and that is going to be a make disappear with casualties. That's going to, counter unless Dom pays 4, of which there is only 3 mana available. But notably, Will, because we did this pre-combat, now there's no blocker for these 2 tokens to clear the Emperor.
Yeah, was the Emperor not used last turn? Should that not have been on 3 counters? -1.
No, you're right. Yeah, it should have been 3, right?
We didn't use it last time. That could be a costly mistake here by Richie.
Huh.
But feature match area, a lot of pressure, potentially played yesterday, a lot of traveling happens. This happens in Magic the Gathering, and that's the main reasons Paper Magic is so good to watch. There's the Overslime on the screen for you all, because let's be honest, everybody's a reader when this hits the battlefield, including us, because I imagine not many people can tell you exactly what this does. But a lot of text on there, Doom, as you spoke about, going to play into Dom's game plan quite well here. Well, it would have if it survived.
Well, and the really nice thing about Slogurk, as you see, we see a March take care of Slogurk, and yeah, that's cool that it, removes the threat from the battlefield, but Richie had to pitch a card to kill the Slogurk, and Dom still just got 3 cards off of it, so it's a rough way to do it.
Yeah, so let's break that down just so in case people kind of missed it. Does have the added text at the bottom, which says, when this leaves the battlefield, return up to 3 target land cards from your graveyard to your hand. So, obviously did get removed from the battlefield, so 3 lands did manage to go back. And that's what I meant about, we're kind of playing into Dom's game plan here about when we put the lands into the graveyard. It's a tale of time. Dom Harvey wanting to put extra lands into play. Every format all day long. This is this man's bread and butter.
Yeah, I mean, this deck doesn't, as many similarities as it has to Amulet Titan and Modern. I mean, there is 30 lands in the deck, so at least he's got that going for him.
I think it's illegal for him to register under 30. I think, I actually played him. What's the combo deck in Modern where you play the 6/6 that you can fling lands to do 3 points of damage, discard a land to do 3 points of damage, that combo deck.
Oh, Borborygmos?
Yeah. Like last time I played Dom, I think he was on that deck. Again, that one I'm sure plays about 30 land to be able to go across the line. Here comes it, another slime. Yet again, another reader, because maybe we didn't get the full text last time we read this, so we really need to have a good idea of what happens on this. It is a 1 green and 1 blue for a 3/3 trampler. It is an ooze legendary creature. Whenever a land is put into your graveyard from anywhere, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Remove 3 +1/+1 counters from it. Return it to its owner's hand, and when it leaves the battlefield, return up to 3 target lands from your graveyard to your hand, which we've already seen that ability being used to full effect in this game.
Yeah, and more importantly, the most important line of text there is when it says when it leaves the battlefield, not when it dies, right? So even if you exile the Slogurk, you're still going to get that value back, and that's what we saw the first time, right? There was the March of Otherworldly Light to exile the Slogurk, which removes the ability to kind of recur it with Takenuma, but, I mean, Slogurk still gets something on the way out, regardless of how you're killing it, and if you can get a couple of counters on it, then it even has its own built-in Wrath Protection, where you can get, if you channel 3 lands, get 3 counters on it, then, if Richie goes to cast a Sunfall or a Depopulate, Dom can just say, okay, I'll pick this up, put it back in my hand, get 3 lands back, and then just run it all back next turn. And that's where this kind of infinite, not actual infinite, but near infinite value engine comes from.
Well, we see an attack there, which I say that makes me smell that there is going to be a sweeper. But Dom, ready for that? Going to bounce it back with Otawara. Of course, it leaves the battlefield, so 3 more lands go back to his hand. Love this play. This is really but Dom was ready for that. He snapped that off straight away.
Yeah, I mean, and so the Sunfall was going to be able to exile the Slogurk, but Dom was like, "No, I'm good. We'll go ahead and pick it up." Even though the Slogurk didn't have any counters on it, the Otawara was ready to go ahead and bounce it. And, as we said, that even the Slogurk getting bounced to hand still goes ahead and gets 3 lands back. So Dom is just, it feels like in every single exchange that we've made this game, Dom is up at least 1, if not 2 cards.
Yeah, the turn before that, obviously, we saw a long goodbye cast, taking out one of the tokens. So Dom was able to attack with the 2/1/1 spirits, get the Wandering Emperor off the battlefield. That's how that ended up in the graveyard. And just having to pass the turn back here on Richie. But this is kind of the game plan, right? When you're a control deck, this is what you want to see. But Dom is moving so quickly right now. It is crazy. Takenuma end of turn, going to mill some cards, put them in the graveyard. We're going to return a creature or planeswalker to our hand. Returns a creature. Now we're going to make a couple of 1/1s. And Dom's moving fast. He knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, and the thing about Slogurk, yes, it's very, very good at providing a bunch of inevitability in the long game, right? Where you get a bunch of lands back, but it also just attacks you for 1,000,000 damage. It's 7/7 trample now, so it's like, yeah, well, it does have trample, so we'll see what happens here. But yeah, it's just it kind of does everything for this deck.
I'm not sure Richie knew that bit that had trample, because otherwise you just block one of the 1/1s there. But it is what it is. And this is one of the advantages of playing these sort of decks where you turn up to it. It's not open deck list, so no one really has a clue what is in your 75. And I think Richie might be on the wrong side of that at the minute, because, well, I would also say Dom is not traditionally known for playing the best deck. He just plays what he likes and is a very good brewer.
Yeah, and I mean, we see the Emperor gonna go after the Slogurk. Dom's got, I mean, a million different ways to stop this. You can sacrifice the Plaza to give it hexproof. You can use the Slogurk to pick itself up, or you could even Otawara it. So just a million different ways to stop this. We're gonna go ahead and pick itself up, get 3 lands back. The one, I guess, good thing for Richie is that because we're doing this in Dom's end step, we're gonna have to discard the hand size, but I think Dom's okay with that.
Chat saying, is this at 1.5 speed? No. This is just how quick Dom is playing. I suppose Richie as well. And yeah, Richie's like, well, okay, cool. You've got me. That's enough. I can't counter these channel lands with you pitting constant 2/1/1 hastes into the battlefield. You getting creatures back out of your graveyard with Takenuma. That was pretty cool. It almost like the first 4 or 5 turns, nothing happened. And then all of a sudden, Dom was just like, I'm going to go up a gear here. And yeah, pretty sick. But we do have the deck list for you all at home to have a look at yourself. Maybe you want to try and pick these up and play them. Here's Richie's list. Let's get started off. He's a game down, so he needs to pull one back. What do you like here, Doom?
Well, I mean, there's some cards you could consider. So the counter spells, first and foremost, aren't very good. Negate doesn't have a lot of targets, a lot of creatures in Dom's deck. Disdainful Stroke, I think there's maybe one target for us. So counter spells offline. Elish Norn is... it doesn't do a ton because the Slogurk ability is leaving the battlefield, not entering the battlefield, so it's not going to shut that off. Maybe Tishana's Tidebinder to counter a Slogurk activation. I could see that Richie may be wanting to go towards that. And then the best card that Richie has in his sideboard, which there's only one copy of, is Farewell. We saw that game. The graveyard was kind of like an extension of Dom's hand. So on turn 6, being able to go Farewell, hit the graveyard, could be very, very important. But, Richie's got a couple of those. Maybe wants to bring in those in the Tidebinders.
Well, on that one, let's get the deck that everybody wants to see. What has Dom brought? What is in the 75? Not only talk me through the sideboard and what you'd bring in here, but chat's also saying that there might be an infinite combo here, potentially. Not in this list, but, there's a way to add an infinite combo to this. Can you explain what that is as well, please?
Maybe. So
question mark?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the infinite combo involves Ludovic Necrogenius, which is a card that Dom has chosen not to register. So from my understanding, maybe chat can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe there is an actual infinite combo in this particular version. As far as the sideboard is concerned, you see the 3 Duresses. Those are almost slam dunks. That's exactly what Dom wants to do, because a lot of removal in Dom's main deck. We want to get those out of the deck. Past the Duresses, probably the Shield Raid as additional threats. Maybe the Kotos, the Silent Spider. That I'm not going to read that one out for chat because it's got a ton of words on it. It would take us, 3 years to read that card entirely. Kura, the Boundless Sky, like these additional kind of big haymaker threats that might just want to, like I said, just Dom just wants to get these removal spells out of his deck. So Duresses, couple of threats, call it a day.
I wonder if there's a bit of hit or miss here. Can we then board in some of these creatures, some more Tiebinders, and try and win through damage ourselves on that side? But that's a whole other argument to talk about, as I think players are both finishing up their sideboards. So let's move it down to match, see how they're doing. Looks like they've drawn the opening hand here, at least over on Richie's side. Have a little look at Dom getting some hydration, which is key, especially in these long tournaments. Very much encourage everybody to take a water bottle with them when they do go to Magic events. Staying hydrated is smart. And now Dom's going to be like, cool, I'm back in the game. Here's my opening 7. Am I going to keep it?
Water is good.
Confirmed. And we're off to the races.
Tap lane here for Richie. Both players kept 7. Saw an Ashnod in hand for Dom. See what else we got here. There's a couple Ashnods here. I'm not exactly sure. There's the 2-drop that Dom wants. That's going to trade for a No More Lies. God, these players are playing at breakneck speed.
Yeah, I'm not a slow player, but this is pretty exaggerated. But there you go. There's the Stone Rain effect. Kind of Dom give a little bit of a face there. Maybe he's kept a bit a hand with not so many land, which is, I guess, pretty hard if you've got 30 land in your deck.
Yeah, that is one thing we didn't mention during sideboarding, which we saw game 1, which didn't, fortunately for Dom, did not come back to bite him. There are no basics in Dom's deck, and there are 4 Field of Ruins in Richie's deck. So it almost feels like a situation where if Richie draws 2 field, Dom might just not be able to function.
Okay, this is an Ashnod Flesh Mechanist.
Mechanist.
Jeez, what does this do? 1 mana, legendary creature, human artificer, death touch. When it attacks, you may sacrifice another creature. If you do, create a tapped Power Stone token. For 5, exile a creature card from your graveyard. Create a tapped 3/3 colorless zombie artifact creature token. Why is this in the deck?
So remember how I said Relic of Legends plus Rona kind of just generates a lot of mana, since you can use the Rona for mana, play a legend, untap the Rona. This is kind of a way to pay you off for having a relic and a bunch of extra legends, just this giant mana sink. I don't think that Dom's going to be activating the when it attacks you may sacrifice another creature ability that often, but I think it's mainly here as a 1 mana legend, 1 mana way to trigger Rona and untap it, as well as some sort of a mana sink.
Well, it's not staying around for much longer as this. I guess, would you say Sunfall is the go-to sweeper currently in Modern? Well, no, definitely not in Modern. In Standard.
Yeah, I would say that. I think that the white control decks like Domain and Blue White Control are definitely leaning more on Sunfall than they are Depopulate. And you might ask yourself why, because Depopulate costs 4, Sunfall costs 5. The exile is very, very important. And not only that, generating that additional body is pretty good too. Sometimes you end up attacking with a 5/5 token, and then sometimes you just have it as a blocker. So seeing Aclazar Tears for Dom, that's a pretty powerful follow-up to a Wrath.
That looks like it came out of the sideboard for Dom here. So that's interesting. Again, a load of text on this one. Let's have a little read for everybody at home. So for 3 and 2 black, get allegedly Bat God. Love it. Flying Life Leak. Whenever it attacks, each opponent discards a card. For each opponent who can't, you draw a card. Whenever an opponent discards a land, create a 1/1 black bat token with flying. Whenever it dies, return it to the battlefield, tapped, transferred under your control. And then the flip side of that is a land. The land has tap for 1 black or tap 2 and 1 black. Transform it, activate only if a player has 1 or fewer cards in hand and only at a sorcery speed. A lot of text, does a lot.
A lot of text, yeah. I mean, the most important part is just the fact that whenever it attacks you, make your control opponent discard a card, which is just a way for Dom to generate virtual card advantage. So yeah, I wasn't 100% sure if that card was going to come in, because the blue-white control deck you mentioned, typically threats like that good against Wraths, but Richie's Wraths all exile. There's 4 Sunfalls, 2 Farewells. So and Watering Emperor as well could be able to exile the Ashnod or the Aclazar. Now, there is a Plaza of Heroes, so yeah, I was going to say, Richie probably doesn't want to do that, but is going to go ahead and play into that Plaza.
So let's just break that whole sequence down again, because again, both players are moving super quickly. We discarded the quick study for the trigger.
I want to interject for 1 second. I don't know if we can get a judge. The Plaza should be exiled. Plaza's ability exiles itself, not sacrifice. That could be relevant later on if there's a Slogurk that ends up coming down. So I just wanted to know if we could maybe get a judge to double check that and get that Plaza exiled. Nothing to, no harm, no foul, but yeah, that Plaza should be exiled.
But it can definitely be relevant in this game, right?
Yes.
In Dom's deck, that's super relevant. So yeah, we're going to get that passed down to the judges so they can kind of sort that for us. It's an easy fix. Yep, just move that to there. Cool, crack on. Richie's doing a good job at stabilizing here. But I just wanted to break down the turn of I was like, why would you not cast the quick study in response to discarding a card there? Because you draw 2, you kind of equal yourself up. But then we found out why. It was when the Emperor came down. When the Emperor used the tick down where exiles target attacking creature. And then over on Dom's side, as we've seen there, using the Plaza to his advantage. Plaza of Heroes, in case anybody hasn't seen this card, it's been around for quite a while now, but it is a colorless mana you can tap it for. You can also add 1 mana of any color spent this on legendaries. You can also tap it and add 1 mana of any color among legendary opponents you control, and then you can pay 3 mana, tap it, exile it, target legendary creature gains hexproof and indestructible and turn a turn. In hexproof being the key text there in that turn, which means it couldn't be targeted by the Wandering Emperor, and that is why it was left on the battlefield. And now we're caught up with the game as we see what's the Mechanica missing, where it turns from an egg into a creature. Incubate. I always think of aliens when I think of the incubate stuff. Thank you.
See a Rona here for Dom. Yeah, Plaza is one of the more powerful lands in Dom's deck because his deck is very centered around one or two specific pieces like Slogurk, Rona, and things like that he wants to keep on the battlefield and keep generating the advantage. And Plaza being able to protect those cards, extremely, extremely important. Quick study here for Richie. Going to go ahead and pick up a couple of cards. Now, this board is not looking super bad for Richie. He's got an Emperor. That's a Stone Rain. Stone Rain's pretty good.
Stone Rain is pretty good. Also, do you remember when you used to pay 2 in a blue at sorcery speed to draw 2 cards? Do you remember that's how it used to be? It used to be 3 mana, draw 2 cards in blue, and it used to be at sorcery speed. I'm not saying that there's a power creep in Magic, but things are definitely getting a bit quicker.
Did people ever play Divination in Standard? I don't think they did.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
Did they?
Definitely. Used to have the Esper control decks back in the day, in it's mono blue, mono black Esper control. Yeah. Definitely saw a few running around there.
I remember Glimmer of Genius. That was probably one of the better ones they printed in a while.
Big draw step for Dom. I don't think it's a land. I think it's a spell. Could be an ooze, maybe.
Doing something with Rona here. Got 3 mana tap. Could be that Slogurk, although the Slogurk probably would tap the Besage. Well, there's 3 mana. That is the slime.
It's a legendary, so Rona trigger goes on the stack. It can untap now. One of the awesome little interactions with Rona.
Yeah, one cool thing about pointing out, we see Make Disappear is going to take care of the Slogurk. No, we're not going to see this happen because the Slogurk got countered. But one cool thing is, normally when you loot when you have no cards in hand, it doesn't accomplish that much. But with Slogurk, if you loot into a land and discard it when you have no cards, that still triggers the Slogurk. So,
ooh, nice. Do like that. Also, when you're stone running your opponent, things like Make Disappear are just so much better in this deck. Only 2 copies though, but I think we've seen both. Oh no, that was last game we saw one, mate. We're going for a little block here, little trade. Wandering Emperor goes to the graveyard. This dies because does it have Death Touch? Did I read that bit right, or am I just losing it? No, it does have Death Touch. Yeah, 1/1 Death Touch.
Chad is quick to point out that the Divination 1 PTM 15. That must have been. Was that the Ivan Flock deck?
Let's go. Let's
go. I think it was.
See, chat's. I told you, chat's so big brain, beautiful, amazing. Chat
gets me. Chat does get me.
Stream is nightmare. Twitch chat. Right, just another land.
If it was my chat, then we'd have a different story. But anyways, Dom's going to go ahead and pick up a card here and see untapping with the Rona. Not exactly sure what was drawn. And Richie's got a full grip of cards, so you gotta like Richie's position in this game.
Oh yeah, this is night or day from what we saw in game 1 to game 2 here. Dom's mana obviously having a little bit of an issue moving forward. That's going to get exiled. Yeah, Dom's like, I've had enough. Cool, I can't get back into this. We're going to go into a game number 3. Sphinx's Revelation. Yeah, I remember that card, Mr. John Starr. Hope you're good, my friend. That was a good card. I lost to that a lot. That's when I started playing Magic competitively. I was playing mono red decks, and the amount of times that my opponent would just go Wrath the board, untap, Sphinx's Rev, and I'm like, cool, this game's fun. Why we keep doing this? Anyway, let's have a look at their deck list once again of both of these players. Dom will now be on the play though, so let's have a little look at his list. Is anything you're bringing in play draw dependent here?
No, same stuff. I mean, you want the duresses, you want the additional threats, you want to take out the removal spells. Cut down is, a card that Dom does never wants anywhere near his deck in the post-board games. So pretty simple stuff. Removal, threats, duress, call it a day.
Makes sense. And over on the other side, do you like play draw dependent things here? Are we trying to slow them down at all? I don't know, is there any reason we'd bring in some knockout blows, or are we just no? I think we've kind of tailored our deck now. We're good. Play draw, it doesn't really matter to us.
I mean, as far as play draw goes, I guess Tidebinder is a little bit worse than the draw, but I don't know if it's still worse than the cards that you were cutting in the first place. You probably want to shave on some of the counter spells, and those are also not as good on the draw, so it probably would make sense. It probably would benefit Richie to bring in the Tidebinders instead of some of the counters, even on the draw. So yeah, I don't think a ton's going to change for Richie either.
Okay, I got a question for you and chat while we wait for both these players to draw their opening hands. And it is, what is the worst deck to lose against? Is it landing control, or is it back when Blue White's only win con was the elixir of more immortality? That was both those two decks. I've lost against both of them multiple times, and I can't tie which one would be worse to play against.
You know what my answer is, Will? My answer is current Blue-White Pioneer control.
Ooh, okay. Well, okay, looks like a Hearst came in out of the graveyard. Why are we bringing that one out of the sideboard?
That's a good question. I mean, there's nothing necessarily graveyard focused with Richie's deck. Well, that's not true. There is Memory Deluge. So Dom might want a threat that sticks around through a Sunfall that can also get those deluges out. So actually not that bad of a sideboard card. And again, anything's better than Cut Down.
It could also be a threat, right? Later the game goes, the more of every creature potentially can crew it and get turned sideways, get that chip damage in against Richie, who manages to find another Field of Ruin on turn 3, but not as good currently on the draw. Ooh, decided maybe that's what we want to do.
Yeah, see, I mean, Field of Ruin's good here, but you're already facing down a 3/3 trample. If you field, that just grows the Slogurk. It's a 4/4. Dom might be able to trigger it again, make it a 5/5, and all of a sudden you're just giving Dom that much better of a clock now. So, and you're looking from Dom's perspective, Richie has the Stone Rain, and Richie didn't fire it off, so you kind of have to assume that there's some sort of either No More Lies or some sort of removal spell that's going after the Slogurk.
This deck, when it has Overslime on the battlefield and when it doesn't, look like two completely different decks.
Yes, Slogurk is the insidious roots of this deck.
Got you. Love it. I'm going to turn it across. That's going to be 3 damage going to Richie's face, dropping down to 17. Do we have something to do end of turn? Is it going to be a spell or a Stone Rain effect? It's going to be Stone Rain. Doing it end of turn. Mainly because we don't want to grow it before combat. And now Dom is thinking, what does he want to do here? If anything.
Yeah, and interesting. So, we had that conversation where Dom is recognizing that Richie is not willing to fire off the Field of Ruin, which leads maybe Richie has a counterspell, but the Cavern is already there, so you can play through counterspells anyway. So there's either a good chance that Dom maybe doesn't have an additional threat or does not want to commit that into a potential Wrath.
Which is going to be untapping. Let's see if we can hit land number 4 and turn on things like Wandering Emperor. What other big 4 drops have we got in this deck?
Deluge is the big one. Yeah, if you look at Richie's deck list, there's 4 Memory Deluge, 4 Wandering Emperor, so a lot of stuff to do on 4 mana. One thing that we see a Tidebinder here is going to take care of that Takenuma. That's a nice, and this is why I was, weren't sure if the Tidebinders were going to come in, but they seem pretty good here.
So is this going on the trigger where we get +1/+1 counter, or is this going to go on the trigger where we mill free? It looks like it's going to be the +1/+1 counter. We're going to mill, and we're going to add this Shield Dread to our hand, which is going to be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's a tough spot for Richie, where you can choose to counter the Slogurk trigger, which means that the Slogurk will be turned off, that if you subsequently wrath the Slogurk later on, it will not get lands back, or you can choose to stifle the Takenuma trigger, which will not get Dom a threat. So, kind of a tricky spot there for Richie, and chooses to go ahead and shut down the Tidebinder, and that's a really good follow-up here for Dom into, Mana Source plus Duress.
Jeez,
grip full of cards here for Richie.
So Richie's got all spells here. We've got counter magic, we've got planeswalkers, we've got draw spells. I mean, that's 2 Memory Deluges.
I think it's 2 Deluge. Yeah, I think it's 2 Deluge, Disappeared, No More Lies, Quick Study, Emperor.
You're so good at this. You should do that commentary thing, or a bit like a streamer or something.
What is that? I don't know what that is.
You're pretty good at it, man. I feel like you should do it. And as we're going to get rid of that Wandering Emperor, which is probably the pick. Let's be honest. It's a pretty good card if it can come down and has the ability to get our threat off the battlefield. Because other than that, there is no other way in hand to get one of our threats off the battlefield with no sweeper effects or anything like that. Dom's going to turn it sideways, get 4 more points of damage in, no blocks from Richie, as he untaps for the turn and draws.
Yeah, and you had brought up earlier, we weren't, exactly sure what the Hearst was maybe doing in there, but when you look at Rich's hand with 2 Memory Deluge, then, the Hearst looks a lot better against those cards.
Yeah, and Dom just it's slowly taking up, slowly grinding. It's got 2 cards underneath it right now, that Hearst. How is Dom going to move forward here? So a little look at the life totals. I think we've got a redundant copy of Mr. Overslime and a bunch of lands, maybe?
Well, Dom didn't play a land last turn, so unless there's maybe like more Otawara's Takenumas that Dom doesn't want to, couldn't play last turn because they're legendary. Yeah, I see an Otawara in hand. We know about the Shieldred. The Shieldred was picked up off the Takenuma.
Oh yeah, Shieldred. I forgot about the Shieldred. How could I forget about Shieldred? But he also knows about the counter magic on the other side of the battlefield. So is it even worth playing into them?
Yeah, that Field of Ruin on Cavern was a pretty big hit there for Richie, because then that actually turned on his counter magic.
So, no, I was about to say, what if we play another Overslime, sack the original one, then we get to bring the Cavern back to our hand, but it won't actually resolve, and it would also be exiled. So, yeah, it'd be interesting how Dom kind of moves forward from this. I feel like Richie's just like needs that one kill spell currently, maybe.
I like this play a lot. So this is kind of a weird play, and everything's kind of face up, right? Because Dom knows about the counter spells, Richie knows about the Shieldred and the Cavern in the graveyard. Now, you might ask yourself at home, why is Dom playing a second copy of a Legend? Slogurk has the ability that when it dies, you get lands back. So if this Slogurk would resolve, Dom could keep the same one that's in play, get back the Cavern of Souls, next turn Cavern on Phyrexian, uncounterable Shieldred. So Richie, aware of that, knowing the Shieldred in hand from the Takenuma, is going to go ahead and fight over the Slogurk, which is weird because you're fighting over the second copy of a Legend, but it makes sense.
I'm interested why we went Make Disappear then instead of No More Lies first. We made Dom tap out for mana. 2 mana. But what does it do?
Yeah, I guess I don't understand why we cast the Make Disappear first. Unless Richie was worried about Dom having a counterspell of his own. But then if that's the case, then you could just, like, Richie goes for Normalize, Dom has Negate, then Richie can just fire off the Make Disappear at that point. So yeah.
Interesting. It's done. It's paper magic. There's no takesy backsies. We're gonna be moving forward on Dom's side.
Chad also bringing up, it looks like Dom may have missed the counter on the Slogurk when the Otawara got Legend ruled last turn.
Yes. Yeah, that makes sense. One to go in there. We're going to Memory Deluge. It's like this now would be a really good spot for that Make Disappear.
Oh, right. That's also a good point. So the reason that Richie... Yeah, I guess he was going to have to use those 2 counter spells either way, because the Relic could have tapped the Slogurk for the 3rd mana. So if you lead on Make Disappear, or if you lead on Normalize, then Dom just taps the Gurk for the mana.
Oh, so he's going to use 2. I got you. But then do we save ourselves 4 life points that way?
Or actually, no, because it's not... Oh, right. The Slogurk has no abilities. It's shut off by the Tidebinder. Never mind. Okay. Right. I'm confused. This is why it's easier in Arena when the card... Like, you look at the card on Arena, and it just has no... Like, it's just a blank piece of cardboard. It's a lot harder to remember that in paper. But yes, the Slogurk is turned off by the Tidebinder.
See, chat, do you want to just jump in the booth for us? We'll just grab a little break. You guys take this round. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it'll be good.
They won't say anything. They won't say anything bad on air, right?
We can definitely trust Twitch chat, as we're going to see a Get Lost on the Shieldred here. 2 map tokens going to be made for Mr. Dominic Harvey on the left of your screen, and he does have a creatures for them to actually target at. Oh, that's the new ones as well. That's the new map tokens. Love it. Of course, you can get them by taking down a NRG event. A lot of them coming up in the future. We spoke about it, and we will be speaking about it in between games. So make sure you stick around if you like what you're seeing. You want to take part in some of these as another Field of Ruin comes down. I'm about to say, just moving the extra 2 lands next to it. Like, we know what's coming. We know what's coming over that side.
Stone Rain.
Exile this creature.
Yeah. Shake of the head here for Dom. That Slogurk is going to go ahead and get exiled. I mean, Dom is kind of out of I know there's still that hearse, I guess, with Richie at 5. So the hearse is theoretically lethal if we can find something to crew it. It's hard to tell. I think there's 6 cards under it, but this is kind of why I wish with hearse people would use dice instead of the actual cards.
I think it's 5 or 6.
I think it's 6.
The duress was drawn here for 6. Dom. So we can have a little look at Richie's hand, see what's going on the other side. Might wait until he has a threat to deploy with it, see to make sure the coast is clear. Takenuma in hand, so can try and get a Shieldred back end of turn. But then, can we go Shieldred plus Duress in the same turn next turn if we set it up? No, we might have to need to
No,
because
because Dom would have to channel the Takenuma, so you have to top back a land at that point.
Oh, we're gonna go for it. 1, 2, 3. What are we gonna?
And importantly, Dom using the Takenuma while Richie is tapped out because is aware of the fact that Tidebinder exists.
Yeah, every time I see Tidebinder cast, I learn something new about that card. Like it's always doing something different, a new target with a different interaction, and my small brain's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't realize that. Oh yeah, that's how that works." Netherfield. Oh,
is that the fourth Field of Ruin?
It's. I think Dom will ask the same question. No, I think it's at least the third.
Yeah, it's at least the third.
I'm so greedy. I'd be snapping it off. I'm so greedy here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing is, that Dom just got back a Shieldred, right? So you want to just cut Dom off the fourth mana source. And yeah, Rich is definitely just going to go and fire. Oh, thinking about it.
I'm doing it all day. Get that black source out of here. Boom, get the other one out of here.
Yeah, these Field of Ruins just so backbreaking for Dom.
Okay, taking blue there.
Yeah, 2 lands gone. I think that is all 4. So 2 lands gone here for Dom. Got a Shieldred. I think Dom's hand is what? Shieldred, Duress, Relic. Yeah, that's not great.
It's not ideal. Not ideal.
Would you say that Dom is regretting his choice to not put basic lands in his deck? At least one?
I might tweet at him after this and be like, well, how do you feel about basic lands in this deck after this?
The tweet is just at Dom Harvey, 30 lands, no room for a single basic. That's it.
But if anybody can get back from this, it's going to be an uphill battle for him. But he's going to lead. Oh no, we're not going to start with that dress. He's looking at the life totals. He's like, hold on a minute, how many attacks can I get hit by here? There's a 4/4. It's going to be a 5/5. Potentially one of an Emperor might be adding some 2/2 samurais to the battlefield at some point. Tom is anything but basic. You go, chair. Duress. Old school, we see a Farewell, a Merry Deluge, and a Land.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, Dom probably has to take the Deluge and just get it with the hearse. Cut Richie off more cards, because we're going to take the Farewell. Interesting. Okay.
What's the reasoning behind that, do you think?
Going for a Rona. Okay, so we wanted to protect the Rona. Sure.
I suppose you can go creature artifact here and completely blow Dom out, right?
Yep.
So Memory Deluge. Gonna look at top 4, put 2 into our hand.
Saw Tidebinder. Didn't see the rest. I think it might have been maybe Tidebinder land. Yep, Dom's gonna eat that Deluge immediately. I mean, this hearse is
lethal.
Yeah, that's definitely more than 7. It looks like more than 7. So the hearse is lethal. But we need to find something to be able to crew it and somehow remove the blocker. Richie has a bunch of fancy lands in play. It's hard to tell. I don't think any of them are Anchorage, but I could be wrong.
No, I don't think any. Well, the odds are he's got 4, but no, I don't think any of these are.
I think those are Seachrome Coast. I think it's 2 desert, 2 beach, 2 Seachrome Coast.
Isn't it crazy that Dom's lost so many lands, so many creatures, so many opponents, but yet he's still got a chance of winning this game?
Yeah, he's just like barely hanging on by a thread. I mean, we know about the Shieldred. Everybody knows. Richie knows about it, so.
No, Shieldred, it's in the graveyard now. We didn't get it back with the Takenuma. We got the Rona, I believe.
Oh, we got back the Rona. I thought we got back the Shieldred. Okay, I must have missed that.
Was that an Inti that just got drawn?
It's
a red card. Yeah, Inti. Which reminds me, I need to pick 4 of these up for my paper collection. Definitely going to be ordering them on the NRG website once we finish today's coverage.
Inti is pretty nice with Rona, because if the Inti comes into play, which it's not going to, unfortunately, for Dom, we get a counterspell. But that would have been able to... Rona triggers the Inti, which would be kind of cool for Dom to, just, churn through some more cards and try and find some more stuff. We're going exploring onto the Rona. Rona the Explorer.
Where else are we going to go from here, though? It's not going to be combat. Not with a 2/2 on the other side of the battlefield.
Yeah, Dom's probably thinking about looting. Trying to think of what we can really find at this point.
We're going to play. Yeah, we're going to crack the last map. It's going to reveal...
Cavern? No, it's a spell. I can't tell what that
How
is.
about I say I'm trying to work out what that is? I think that is a Eren, is it? Or Ertai?
Or Ertai?
Yeah, an Ertai, thank you.
Okay.
Now, is that good here?
Looks like Dom's going to graveyard it. Here's the crew. Oh, Tidebinder to shut off the hearse. And that's brutal.
9, 10. Not lethal on the crackback, though.
Yeah, see, the Tidebinder is brutal, though, because that means that hearse is no longer, an avenue for Dom to win this game. So that was probably the best shot that Dom had to victory, is just like somehow stealing a win with a hearse out of nowhere, and now that's off the table.
Yeah, I agree. Is that another fit? That's the 4 field of ruin.
Well, if it wasn't 4 now, it's definitely 4.
Look, if I know Twitch chat, I know that they love to see lands getting destroyed in every format, no matter what it is, and leaving opponents with just nothing to do.
Dom does have to shuffle. Really unfortunate for Dom that he's just like being beaten so badly, and it's just like, yeah, you got to shuffle, buddy.
Okay, everything's gonna come. Well, maybe everything's not gonna come across here. Not all. Maybe just a few. But this would be an attack for 9 points of damage. That's 10 points of damage with another counter.
Like, you've been Stone Rain 4 times, then it's like, yeah, you still got to shuffle though.
It's like you can't shortcut that. It's like, yeah, cool, whatever.
You gotta
just pass it back to my opponent. Sure, cut, go crazy. All right, Dom. Needs a miracle off the top. Literally a miracle. Thinks found another Inti. Another Rona off the top.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it. I don't even know what isn't out at this point. Like, I'm looking at Dom's deck list, and I can't really think of a sequence of draws that gets him out of this.
I think we saw the power of Dom's deck game 1, and then Richie was like, okay, I get what's going on here. Sideboarded, cards lined up perfectly, and is going to be able to take this one down and advance to a 4-9 record. But if anybody can get back from it, it is going to be Dom. Here comes a trigger.
Okay.
Untap the Rona. What are we going to destroy here?
So Ertai is potentially going to kill the Tidebinder that's on the hearse, and now you can use the Rona to crew the hearse, force a chump block. We're playing defense? I guess you can't attack.
Yeah, we're at 3 life. There's 2 lethal attackers on the other side.
That's tough.
Playing around a removal spell here, which we know there's multiple of over in Richie's deck.
Theoretically, you could hope Richie has Stone Cold Nothing in attack, right? But tough spot.
I feel like no, because you can't attack.
Oh wait, Will, I figured out the plan. The plan is give Unlicensed Hearse Trample with Inti. How did we miss that?
Oh my word! Did you think of that, or did chat think of that?
No, I just thought of that.
All right, let's get some. That is worth some 07s in chat.
And didn't we saw an Inti a couple turns ago? I don't know if that did. I don't think that got looted away. I think Dom's been saving it this whole time.
No, it got counted, right?
Oh, it got countered, right? Yeah.
But that's the out. You found it. That is the out.
You found the out.
I'm not sure if Dom knows the out or Richie knows that's an out, but that is an out. And Dom really needs to try and find that. Potentially won't have another turn after this one.
Oh, I'm sure Dom is thinking of that. I'm sure that's the exact out that he's playing towards.
Also, we know there is a counter spell on the other side. There is a No More Lies. So, it's not going to resolve, but if it was found. But making Dom go through the motions. Dom's going to discard a Triome. Doesn't need that. Doesn't need mana come into play tapped, and can't use his mana to kind of tap out for it just to draw a card.
Okay, we're gonna just cycle Ronas.
We're casting one just to untap the one in play.
Yeah, and just get another loot.
Richie's like, sure. All right, Dom. How can we survive this turn? Let's have a little look what we got in the deck. Don't think cut down to be left in the deck anymore.
No.
Don't. I just don't know anything I'll do here.
Yeah, it's just lethal right here, right?
Combat,
block 2, take 3.
block, take 3 as long as life totals are correct. We were right. I don't think Dom's going to have a 1 mana removal spell in hand to deal with this. He's going to have a quick look, make sure there's no hope or a prayer in that graveyard.
We got a Otawara. Wait, no, it could be Otawara because we do have mana.
What does Otawara do?
Bounce the token.
Two. Doesn't it cost?
Yeah, we have 2 legends.
Yeah, but it's
it
full
didn't
to
matter,
activate, right?
No, it's 2 because there's 2 legends in play.
We've only got 1 mana, is what I'm saying.
No,
Doesn't matter.
The relic can tap the legend. But anyways, yeah.
It doesn't matter. That's as the Rock would say. It doesn't matter. Richie manages to take that one down, gripping from a 0-1 back up to a 2-1 to take that one down. So congratulations to him, advancing himself to a 4-0 record. I mean, told there's no more backup feature matches. That game took so long. But how many matches are left in the round, Doom? Update me. Go for
it. Refresh. There are 10 outstanding matches, so probably little less than 5 minutes left in the round, I would assume.
Enough time to talk about our future events here at the NRG series. Maybe you've been inspired to play a little bit of Standard yourself in a big tournament, or maybe you want to play some Pioneer, some Legacy, or some teen events. Well, we've got them all coming up here on the NRG series here in 2024. Well, we've had the February one because we're currently playing in that. Obviously, yesterday was the Pioneer 10K Showdown, and today you're watching the 5K Standard Showdown. Then the next time that the NRG series is going live here on this Twitch channel, which you will obviously know about because you've hit that follow button, you have made sure that alarm bell is unticked, will be April 20th and 21st. That is going to be in Minneapolis. That is going to have a Saturday 10K modern tournament, and on the Sunday is going to be a 5K trial legacy event, which I'm really looking forward to. And then in May, we're going to be going live one more time in Indianapolis. That is going to be Saturday, a 10K modern tournament, but on the Sunday, a teams trio event. That is the tournament I'm excited for. That is huge. I love team events. I love trio events. 1 player on Standard, 1 on Pioneer, 1 on Modern. You get to hang out with your mates. Best 2 players have got to win out of the 3 to advance to to get the W that round. And then in June, in St. Louis on the Saturday, we have got a 10K Pioneer with a 5K trial, which will be modern on the Sunday. A lot of Magics we played this year, brought to you by the NRG series. So big hats off to them for not only bringing on this amazing coverage, but putting on these huge events with these great prizes. If you want to support them, you need to turn up, buy from the site, turn up to these events, have a great time, as well as there's a side events, there's cash events, special guests turn up to all these events. Maybe you can meet some of your favorite content creators. Looks at Doomwake. There's so much that happens at these events for everybody to take part in. It is an event for everybody to turn up to, no matter what format you enjoy playing. But on that one, we're going to come back to the booth. We're going to close off round number 4. I'm Will. That's Doomwake. That's round number 4. We'll see you shortly for round number 5.